Hi, welcome again to The Old Principal. I am The Old Principal, and this is an English instructional program. We spend 30 minutes together. I usually tell a story, and then we look at it sentence by sentence, word by word, usually using English to explain English, but occasionally a little Chinese thrown in to make life interesting. This will be lesson number 160, the Kleins. Okay, we're going to talk about this. Do you know what this is? We'll look at it a little later on. We won't show you the pictures, so you better look at it now. Okay, 织布机. Okay, to make 布料, cloth. Okay, and so this is what we call a loom. Loom. Now we'll come back to that in just a minute, but to begin with, we're talking about the Kleins. The Kleins are my neighbors. 我们的邻居啊. Now, before we get going, you need to listen to the story. So, listen now.
Number 160. The Kleins. Our house sat on the edge of the city. Except for Grandfather's house across the street, the area around our house was countryside. But over the years, our house became engulfed in a sea of homes. The Kleins built one of the first. The first hint that we would have neighbors came when a little gravel road was built on the edge of our property. It connected 36th Street with the hillside above our house. Next, our parents began talking about the progress of the Kleins' well drilling project. Day after day, reports filtered down about the difficulties they encountered, layers of rock and no water. Should they give up? Just when we thought the Kleins would fail, they struck water. They leveled out part of the hillside and built a house. The house was unique because it had a gently inclining flat roof. All of this indicated that they'd be an unusual family, and so they were. They seemed different from other families, perhaps because they were so practical and frugal. They'd rather make something than buy it. The best example of this was that they wove their own cloth for window curtains. They researched and built a sophisticated shuttle loom and wove all the cloth they needed. The Kleins had a large garden and canned or froze lots of fruits and vegetables every year. Eddie and Terry, the two older boys, built soapbox derby cars. These sleek and colorful cars contained no motor. They competed with other cars to see which one could coast downhill the fastest. If their cars were well built and aerodynamic, they would win a trip to Akron, Ohio for the national championships. The Kleins had 3 boys and a girl. The third boy, Larry, was my age. We played a lot together. We often got together to shoot baskets or play catch with a baseball or football.
Now that you've heard the story, we're going to begin by saying that our house sat on the edge of the city. In fact, when I was small, it was right on the edge, 刚好在边缘. In fact, except for Grandfather's house across the street, 除了我祖父的家，刚好是在我们的家对面。Except for my grandfather's house across the street, the area around our house was countryside. Okay, what does that mean? The area around our house, 我们家的周围都是 countryside, 乡下. 乡下. So, in a way, I grew up in the country and yet in the city because we were right on the edge of the city going on. But over the years, year by year, our house became, now here is engulfed in a sea of homes. First of all, remember that we're talking about houses. So when you see sea, 海水的海, then immediately you say, oh, it means something different. Engulfed. Okay, engulfed 就是吞过被很多 homes. In other words, after a while, our house became totally surrounded by, well, you could say a sea of homes. Many, many, many homes. It's just a nice way of saying that our home became surrounded by many other homes. The Kleins built one of the first. Actually, let me see. I think about this. Yeah, they're one of the very first homes they built. And I think that the property, as I recall, the property they purchased from my father, 向我爸爸买的地. Go ahead. The first hint that we would have neighbors came when a little gravel road was built on the edge of our property. 头一个提示, a hint, 提示, that we would have neighbors, 我们将来会有一些邻居,是当我们看 a little gravel road, 很窄的石头路, 刚好是放在我们家的地, 我们的地的边边, okay? Built on the edge of our property, 我们的地的边边. Go ahead. It connected 36th Street to the hillside above our house. 这个小石头路是接我们家上面 Okay, the hillside, 我们家上面the hillside 这个小山坡接到 36th Street. So here you have a road that's connecting 36th Street with the mountain up on top. The next thing we heard, 第二个提示, the next hint, okay, our parents began talking about progress of the Kleins well drilling project. Our parents began talking about the Kleins and their well drilling project. 他们有一个计划，要打一个水井. Okay, so I would listen to my parents and they would talk about, well, what had happened that day in their, whether they found water, 有没有找到水等等. Day after day, reports filtered down. 一天过一天, okay, reports filtered down. Filtered means, of course, what is a filter? Okay, 过滤. But here means that slowly but surely there were some reports that came down to us almost every day about the difficulties they encountered. 他们所面对的 encountered 面对的困难 the difficulties they encountered. Layers of rock and no water. Layers 一层再来一层的岩石 but no water. Well, that's a major problem because, you're drilling a well is very expensive. 打这个水井很贵很贵. And so they day after day go down rock 岩石石头 no water. Should they give up? 应该是投降吗？放弃吗？ Just when we thought the clients would fail, they struck water. 刚好我们认为这个 clients 他们的家他们会失败，就是刚好这个失败的时候他们打到水。Wow, they were happy, of course. In later years, they had big gardens. I think I'll say something about that. 是用了不少水啊。They used a lot of water, and they found a good source of water. Although, as I remember, the water 有 many minerals, 很多矿物质. So every time I went to their house, I didn't like the water too well. So they leveled out part of the hillside. Okay, so 这个小山坡的他们就弄平啊，一部分是弄平的。Okay, and built a house, 盖一个房子。Actually, it was pretty good because it was up on the hill and you could see the whole city down there. I mean, it was amazing. It was beautiful. You look out there and there is the city. Wow. 风景好美. The house was unique, 比较特殊特别 because it had a gently inclining flat roof. See, most houses don't have a flat roof. Here is a flat roof. 这个房顶是平的。那一般我们的家是这样，是不是？But they had a flat roof, and it was gently inclining. 有一点点这个斜，有一点点斜。So when it rained, the water would run off. First time, we say many people talk. They were talking about the Kleins who built a house with a flat roof. Going on. All this indicated that they'd be an unusual family. 这些这个事实慢慢这个给我们了解 they would be an unusual family. 他们不是一个一般不顺常的一个家庭. They were very special. They were unusual unique, you could even say. And so they were. 那果然不错，他们就是这样的家庭。They seemed different from other families, perhaps because they were so practical and frugal. They seemed different from other families. Now, when I say seem different, because I often played with their children, I think I'll mention that. So I knew them quite well. I'd been in their house many times. Okay, but the interesting thing was that they were so practical. Okay, 实用. Everything had to be practical, 实用, and frugal. Okay, what is 节俭? Frugal. That's a new word in Chinese for me. Let me see if I say that. 节俭. In other words, they didn't like to spend lots of money. They saved their money. They 很不容易花钱. They would rather build something than to buy it. 他们宁愿盖一个东西或做一个东西，而不愿意买。So this was a very, very special family. Okay, going on. They'd rather make something than buy it. The best example of this was that they wove their own cloth for window curtains. 他们的窗帘 window curtains. Okay? They wove the cloth. Of course, 窗帘 has 布料. So, and they had these big windows. Big windows. And of course, the curtains, 这个窗帘 are very big. 所以这个肯定是要很多布料。Guess what? 他们是自己织的。They made their own cloth. 他们的布料是自己做出来。So, the best example of this, of their frugalness and practicalness, was that they wove their own cloth. 他们自己织自己的布料，作为他们的窗帘。I remember during that time, every day I'd go up there and ask, because I played with them. 我小孩子，我是跟他们玩的。I said, how are you coming? How are you coming? Oh, we're weaving. We're making the cloth. Then every day, it took them many days to do that. They researched and built a sophisticated shuttle loom and wove all the cloth they needed. Now, they researched 研究. Nowadays, much easier because 我们有这个网络我们都可以看一看怎么样做一个织布机 a loom. See, here's a loom. This is a loom. A shuttle loom. You know what a shuttle loom? A shuttle is just a little piece of wood. And it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And these little pieces, the warp and the woof, they become a little bit more and a little bit more. Sophisticated, 很复杂. Woo, they built it. 好复杂. a shuttle loom, and they wove all the cloth they needed. 他们所需要的布料他们都织好了。Very, very interesting. And in fact, I remember years later, the loom was still there. They wouldn't throw it away. The 织布机还在那个地方。And it was very, very interesting because I saw it many, many times in their house. The Kleins had a large garden. Okay, a garden, 菜园，他们种菜。They also had some berries, some strawberries, 草莓, and some other berries, 黑莓, some of these blackberries, and they canned or froze. Now, canned is a very interesting word because 罐头, you know what a can is. If you take off here and you just have can, okay, that's 罐头, okay. So if you can something, you put it in cans and 封起来, seal it off. Okay. In America, we use 玻璃瓶, we use glass jars for that, but we still say to can it. We still say to can. So they canned the fruit. 可以保留好几个月，冬天都可以吃。Okay, they canned or froze. Okay, 冷藏的。They would take it and they would put it in a freezer, 冰冻库. So they prepared this food, they put it there. And then during the winter, they had food to eat. 他们有食物吃. And they had fruits and vegetables every year going on. Eddie and Terry, the two older boys, built soapbox derby cars. Now, you'll never ever, well, if you find a big dictionary, you may find out what a soapbox derby car is. It's just a 小小的一个车子 okay? 没有马达，就在山上这个留下来。This is a soapbox derby car. These sleek, 光滑 and 有色彩的、有彩色的 cars contained no motor. Just no motor at all. And I remember them building these things. And I was younger. And I was watching them. And they take hammers and they take the saw. Ooh, it was very, very, very good and very interesting going on. They competed in a contest with other cars to see which one could coast down the hill the fastest. So, 这个是一个比赛，他们从这个山上就溜下来，看哪一个是最快的。Okay, this is coast down means 滑下去。Going on. If their cars were well built, 如果他们的小车子是做得非常好 well built, and aerodynamic. Aerial, what's this? Aerial means air, right? And dynamic. I could say a simplest way of explaining aerodynamic is to simply say it was 不会挡风啊，减少这个挡风 okay? And that way, it was fast. And they might win a trip. 最后得奖呢，可以去 Akron, Ohio, 美国中部。Yes. For the national 这个国际广军赛。So, but as I remember, Terry and Eddie's cars were not fast enough. 不够快, so they never ever went to the national championships going on. The Kleins had 3 boys. The Kleins had 3 boys. And a girl. I remember the girl's name is Lynetta. The third boy, Larry, was my age and we played a lot together. Larry 刚好是我的年龄. And we 常常一起玩. Go ahead. We often got together to shoot 射球, 射篮球, baskets, or play catch. Play catch means to throw the ball back and forth. To play catch with a baseball, okay, 棒球, or a football, 橄榄球. And so there you have the Kleins. Okay, now, you can write an email letter to us. And maybe you can tell about your own experiences. Our email address is theoldprinciple@gmail.com. Our website, 我们的网站，你可以看到我们的节目 www.theoldprinciple.org. Hey, it's been nice being with you, and I hope that you will join us next time.